education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
And welcome. Glad you are with us. Aaron Lavarco, our reporter on the ground in Israel, joins us today to give us a quick update. I guess we could talk about what everybody else is talking about, which is President Trump says we have to have 600,000 Chicoms come into the country and go to school, or the progressive Marxist pro-Islamist institutions will collapse. That would be terrible, wouldn't it? He literally said that. They would collapse. So, oh, really? And then the latest, I guess, today that's come out is that we have to have H-1B1 visas because Americans are just too, what's the word he used? I don't want to say he said stupid, but it kind of implied it, I think, that the American workers aren't smart enough for these jobs. I don't know if you're watching social media today. It is not a good day for MAGA. I mean, major influencers are like, I'm done. I'm out. It's over. MAGA's dead. Well, you know, once again, we were kind of ahead of the curve on this one because everybody that's in the influencer world that has any following and wants access to the White House is very careful as long as they can be because they don't want to lose access. Where we're not interested in that. We don't play those kind of games. So we were telling you guys now a few months ago, we were starting to creep in with things that were trying to, again, we were trying to go slowly. So we didn't have a big reaction, give everybody a chance to kind of get used to what we're saying. We don't want to rain on everybody's parade. And so we went slow. And we just kept trying to tell you, bringing on Annie. Annie, I think, pretty much undid with the whole filter a long time ago when it comes to what she thinks about the MAGA movement, where Trump's going. And more in our circles that track Islam, we're like, what is this? This is not good. And we're being blunt. And now it's interesting. What they're really upset about is mostly economics. Have you guys noticed that? Most of the anger is about economics. Now, there's a few of the people that are national security folks that are upset about Giuliani, tomato. I mean, jihadist, right? But isn't that interesting? Giuliani versus Mondani. But people were upset that Giuliani was in the White House, and we were too. But there was only a few folks upset about that. Most people, they don't know enough about him and ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They're a little upset about the idea of the air base of Qatar in Idaho. That got some people upset. But the majority of them get upset over money. Now, I understand that because it's the economy, stupid. Isn't that what James Carville said to and about George H. Bush when Clinton was running? It's the economy. So I understand that most people have a reaction more passionately about money than they do probably anything else. But at least now others are saying the same thing, that this is not the same guy. We're in big trouble. And indeed, we are. But I have a guest I have on now a couple times, Mitch Wexler. And you guys should all watch it because I interviewed him last night about all of these junk bonds that a lot of your banks are holding, and school board bonds, fraudulent, he says school board bonds, 17 trillion. But I did a new interview with him last night about the economy and the banks and bail-ins versus bail-outs, and that the signs are all there that we have an inflated AI bubble. You got the guy that was involved, I guess, in a movie about shorting the housing market and the bonds in 2007, 2008. I guess he's now shorting all of this AI and Palantir and some of these other companies that I see on social media to the tune of a lot of money. So apparently he thinks we're on the verge of something catastrophic happening economically. And of course, this has caused people to say now today, I wonder if Donald Trump has been brought in to be the salesman to sell us to the new system. Well, that's kind of what we've been saying and talking about here. In fact, that's what we said before the election. Leo Holman and myself said, what if he's being let back in because they're going to count on him to sell the new system to the people? And we talked about that before he was elected. Now, granted, the alternative have been really, really bad. But people are coming to realize that something is very much amiss. And many of the young people are abandoning MAGA. They're done. They're out. They can't find jobs. Some of the young men are being passed over by ladies who apparently they say are not as qualified as they are for the jobs, but they're being passed over because they're white young men and they need quotas. And of course, this is fueling a lot of anger among white young men. And then we hear that some of them are being passed over for jobs because you have folks coming in on these H-1B visas from Asia. They're getting the jobs. So now we have an increase of hostility toward women, feminism, an increased hostility toward minorities or people of color. I wonder who could step in and exploit that. Oh, maybe like a Nick Fuentes, who goes on the air and says the most horrendous things about women and the most horrendous things about people with darker skin pigmentation. And then starts spouting what I find to be nothing more than Nazi ideology. Isn't it interesting that this is what is capturing the hearts and minds of a lot of young men? And of course, what we have to understand is why. It's not productive to talk about what's happening unless you explain where is this coming from, why. You can't solve a problem unless you understand why the problem originated to begin with. And I believe some of it is indeed, obviously, foreign enemies, in my opinion, but a lot of it is demonic. And again, of course, when you have a problem, you have to find someone to blame. And of course, the favorite person to blame tends to be the Jews. And this, again, is what's going on. So we're in a time when a lot of people have come to the realization that a lot of what we have in our world is fake. You hear the phrase a lot, fake news. Not just fake news, folks. Yes, fake news outlets. But a lot of this is fake news, fake pastors, fake churches, fake politicians. Just keep going down the line. Fake quarterly reports from the government, fake annual reports from the government on CPI, fake reports from your favorite corporation you might invest in, fake, deception, more deception. And people are starting to realize so much of what we've been told, they have been lies. Now, some of us that are older figured this out, but you know what? A lot of younger people are now realizing they told me if I went to school, if I got a college degree, if I played by the rules, if I didn't get into trouble, that when I got out, I could find a good paying job and pursue the American dream. And I did that. I went to school, I got debts, or my parents and I worked hard, we paid as we went. I got a degree. I got actually a really good degree, graduated really up high in my class. And I keep getting no interest in my resume. And when I do, I lose it to a foreigner or someone who's not as qualified because they need quotas. And these young men are now becoming very frustrated. Life has handed them a bad deal. The economy, a car is outrageous, what one pays for a car now. And the solution is a 50-year mortgage, I guess. And maybe even a 15-year car note, really? And they're realizing everything I have been told has pretty much been a lie. And now young men are looking for some hope, some answers in a society that has really said young, particularly young American white men are the source of all evil. And they're becoming very angry and they're becoming very bitter And many of them are turning to drugs and other addictions. And that is why I said the other night, I did a whole program the other night on how to talk to young men about the rise of someone like a Nick Fuentes or a Tucker Carlson. And I laid it out, how to talk to them, how to use reason and logic. Because someone asked, will you do that? Because I have young men in my family I need to talk to. And I did. And they emailed me back. And people who didn't even ask for the program emailed back in to say, that was absolutely fascinating. I'm going to be sharing this with some young guys. Because I talked about racism and where it comes from and the value of human life. And what if the tables were turned and all of a sudden it's, you're not valuable because you're white. You're not valuable. You're not worthy because you are everything that we're told is the problem. You come from a European white culture, privilege. So turn that around. Yes, I understand what's being done to you and how, but turn it around. What if someone said, you know what? A lot of these young guys, there's no future for them because they're not really quality, productive human resource. They have no job. They have a lot of debt. They're really not adding to society because there's nothing for them. They're kind of now, we don't need them. And if someone said that to you, what would be the solution? Euthanasia? Active euthanasia? Well, do you know that's exactly what's going on? In Canada and other places, they're encouraging people to end their life simply because they're depressed. But if you do this with babies, if you do this with older people, if you do this with the infirm, and that's was going on in Nazi Germany. We got to create the Superman of Nietzsche, of Darwin. I said, what if you were to take that same ideology and put it onto you, young white men that are now following Nick Fuentes? How would you feel about that? Oh, that's not right. Really? Are you telling me there's a right? Oh, you're starting to just tell me there's right and wrong now, are you? No, that'd be wrong. Oh, you want to decide wrong. Are you trying to tell me there's a moral law? Are you trying to tell me there's a moral law? I mean, like pushing the little old lady in front of the bus versus helping her across the street, there is a difference? Huh. So if there's one moral law, then there must be a moral lawgiver, right? Start using this tactic to explain to young people what is really going on in the worldview being espoused, whether he believes it or not, whether he's a shock jock or not. This is the worldview being espoused by people, promoted by people like Nick Fuentes. And now many of them woke up today to this clip by President Trump, and many of them are saying, I don't know what to do anymore. I thought this was the last chance we had. I'll say it again. For those of us that understand what's happening in the worldview, war, and the values, this is a great opportunity to grab up hearts and minds of young men that are really needing some hope, to offer them spiritual solutions. The question is, do we as a church and as Christians understand this enough, or will guys like Nick Fuentes scoop them up? We'll be back with Aaron Levarco.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Yes, I'm not wearing a tie. I ran out of time. I absolutely ran out of time, and I brought it with me. It's here in the studio, but I just did not have time to put it on. So Logan's like, I think you'll be okay. So I hope it's okay. I've only gotten one text about it. Like, where's your tie? Let's go to Aaron Lavarco. He's not wearing a tie, so why should I? Aaron Lavarco live on the ground in Israel. Hello, Aaron.
Hi, Brandon. Shalom. Great to be with you. You still look smart, so everything's good from my point of view.
Well, you're all buttoned up. Now I feel like I better button up my top button. Look at you. Oh. Well, by the way, what do you make of my opening monologue today?
Yeah, you really get to the point there, Brandon, because we've got these people that have these very narrow views of things. And, the key word that you mentioned is worldview. What is their worldview? And what they're being educated, some of these people, is going to affect their worldview. And if it's not a worldview from a biblical point of perspective, then it's going to be either humanistic, it's going to be hedonistic. And so some pretty heavy issues you touched on, for sure.
And yet many of these young men are going or following a guy that's talking about eliminating the Jews. We need to get rid of most of the Jews, throw most of the black people in prison, and we'd have paradise. I mean, he's on video saying this, right?
Yeah,
and I went on the air the other night and I said, okay, but do you realize we could make the case for why these young white men are not productive human resource? They don't have jobs. They're carrying a lot of debt from school, right? Many of them are addicted now to pot. Many of them are addicted to pornography. I said, we could make a case for why you guys are a lost generation that somebody could come along and say, we need to thin the herd, right? This is a lost generation that have no real value from a human capital standpoint. Now, nobody with a Christian worldview would do that, right? But what I'm trying to say is, don't be so quick to buy a utilitarian worldview, whatever provides the best outcome to the biggest group of people. Don't be so quick to jump on someone's eugenics, racist, utilitarian worldview, because someone could make the case using the same moral relativism about you as a young people group. And that really caught the attention of one person that emailed back and saying, this is perfect way I need to explain it to the young guys following Nick Fuentes. But I think that's where they want the young men today. I think they want the young men to be hopeless, jobless. I think they want to do this because I think they're looking for cannon fodder, but I also think they're looking for young white guys that they can radicalize and then say, we told you the problem is the white radical extremist. Because that's what they've been telling us in America for a long time. The greatest threats to society are white guys, white extremists. Well, it seems like the system has been rigged to actually create a very large swath of white unemployed college grads who then become bitter and angry, fall into a worldview trap, and are weaponized for a war. To me, it has a stench of a setup.
Absolutely. I sense the same, Brandon. It's a deception. And it reminds me of that verse, my people are destroyed through lack of knowledge. What this kind of education is doing, it's twisting. It is not based on the Judeo-Christian values. And if it's not, then what are the values? Really, what are the values that these people are being seduced into? It's scary. It's really scary.
Well, I know you're happy to be in Israel. I had on Itamar Marcus yesterday from palwatch.org. You ever go to Itamar's website, Palwatch, Palestinian Watch?
You've mentioned it before, but actually, no, I don't.
Well, go there to Palwatch, palwatch.org. He's Palestinian Watch. I had him on for a whole hour from Israel yesterday. I thought you'd find that interesting. Well, let's go to what's happening in your country, because here was Jelani in the White House Oval Office, right? And this has really got a lot of people upset. And now we're hearing that Hamas is exploiting, this is from Gatestone Institute, Hamas is exploiting the Trump plan to maintain control of Gaza. For Hamas, U.S. President Donald Trump's peace plan announced in early October is evidently nothing but a temporary ceasefire, a hudna, that should be exploited to ensure that the terror group, with the help of Qatar and Turkey, expands its political and military control over the Gaza Strip. President Trump, folks, whether you can believe it or not, was actually considering his guys, Witkoff and Kushner, I guess, were considering including Turkey in this group to police Gaza. The Trump administration got so much pushback. They're saying no, but the president of Turkey today is still planning on sending troops to help police Gaza.
Brandon, I've been reading articles, and I don't know how accurate it is. We're going to have to keep our eye on it. But Trump is not really interested in Syria or its president. He actually wants to bring Turkey into the picture. Hard to believe. The articles that I've been reading is that Syria is too much of a mess. It's too unpredictable. It's like a walking time bomb. Turkey are more stable nation, and the Sunni balance between Turkey and Qatar is a lot more dependable than other coalitions like Egypt or Jordan, who are very unpredictable. This is what I'm reading about, that this is what is really deep down Trump's goal, to bring Turkey into the frame here. And, you can imagine how that's going on down here in Israel.
Yeah.
Absolutely no way would we put up with that. But, Trump, really, let's not forget the big goal of Trump here in the Middle East is this India, Europe, bypassing China trade route that is already starting to gain more and more momentum, and making America great again. Of course, from Donald Trump's point of view, is the economy and trade. And he's going for it. He's putting his foot on the gas. He's putting the pieces together. I think, from what I'm reading, again, he's ready to start to implement phase 2 in his plan. Actually, what's holding him back from phase 2 actually is Israel, because Israel has not withdrawn from the Gaza Strip yet. And Israel won't do that until Hamas is either demilitarized or lays down its weapons, which is also part of Trump's phase 1 plan. So Israel is acting or not acting. Israel is a bit of a thorn right now in phase 2 going ahead. And I think Trump understands that. One has to be careful in the Middle East not to rush things. Things go very, very slow here. And that's some criticism I'm reading also about Donald Trump. While he may be a good businessman, he doesn't really understand the Middle East mentality. And yet, on the other hand, it's a brand new Middle East. So he may be the man that gets the ball rolling in a new way. It's changing almost by the hour what's going on. But
what about your 200 terrorists that are underground? You guys should have just filled that up with cement and been done with it. But I understand you're going to let them out. Yeah. Is that right?
That seems to be what it looks like, Brandon. And, obviously there's the handprints of Donald Trump on that.
Yes.
There's obviously some pressure. Bibi Netanyahu, and by the way, did you hear again today? No doubt you heard that once again Donald Trump is calling for the pardoning of Bibi Netanyahu. Did you see that letter that he wrote?
I did. It's going all over. That's going all over today too.
Yeah, and that's, I think, a part of it. Trump, he sees Bibi not necessarily as a puppet, but he's got him where he wants it. In fact, the polls here in Israel are that the U.S. are now running our politics. That's what the polls are actually saying.
So wait a minute. Your own Jewish people believe Trump's running Israel. Whereas
Israeli.
Okay, you ready for the irony?
Yes.
Ready for the irony? Whereas our people believe Netanyahu's running America.
What?
Yes. I mean, that's what's all over social media. that Donald Trump is and all of Congress has bowed to the money from AIPAC and all the Jewish money. So our population, a big percentage of them that are, in the MAGA world or not in the MAGA world, the anti-Semitic world, people on the right and the left are parroting the same thing. I mean, pretty soon the extreme right and the extreme left they're meeting each other. Okay. And there's a lot of them in our country that think the Jews run America. And your people, a lot of them think that the Gentiles are running Israel.
That's how it's. That's what I'm saying. Our polls are saying. Now, there is some element that AIPAC are a very powerful organization, but
nothing compared to Qatar.
Exactly. Netanyahu is not running the American politics at all. Quite the opposite, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So, how about this? What's your country saying about this? The U.S. is reportedly planning $500 million military base on the Gaza-Israel border to host thousands of troops supporting a ceasefire. Now, this is not America first. And this is even me, the Christian Zionist. I have consistently said no troops of the U.S. on the ground. We need the troops on the ground at our border, Aaron. We need them securing our nation. We need them looking for these terror cells in the U.S. But here we go.
Yeah.
President Trump's going to spend $500 million putting military boots on the ground. Gaza, Israel.
Why, Brandon? Why does he want to do that? He's not stupid. He's not going to do that for any reason.
I think it's because they want to develop it. They're going to turn it in. We've already shown the PDF of a digital Gaza, a 15-minute UN Gaza. The UN's going to help oversee this. And then they're probably going to build that Ben Gurion port cutting through Gaza.
Exactly.
Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
That's it. The India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor.
Eurasia.
And remember, through Asia, bypassing China. He sees China as the biggest economic threat. And remember, Gaza is a port. He wants to turn that port into a major trading port. It's on the ancient the ancient Via Maris, which is the largest ancient trade route. He wants to revive that. He's a strategist. Some people would say what he's doing is a kind of a masterstroke.
Well, I guess you could say that, but a lot of the people here in America are angry. And a lot of the people that voted for him are angry. And you got the DHS secretary saying, quote, under the Trump administration, we've sped up our processes and added integrity to the visa programs, to green cards, to all of that. But also more people are becoming naturalized under this administration than ever before. More people are becoming citizens, end quote. People are so angry today. They don't want to hear about these H-1 visas. They don't want to hear about the fact, we don't have enough smart Americans to do the jobs. Well, then set up schools and train them. If you need to train them in computer coding, set up the schools and train them. I mean, I think you can have some of these guys and gals trained within a year. And now you want to bring in 600,000 Chi-Coms to go to our schools so those liberal anti-American institutions don't collapse.
Consumers often ask, what should I expect when I take the Bella Grace elixir? And the answer's varied. It really depends on what your health and wellness needs are. I would consider this as your foundational core product for a whole range of health and wellness issues. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a little bit older and you have some joint health issues, some problems with mobility and discomfort, the elixir is going to be your best friend. If you have some skin health issues, wrinkles, hydration, aging, all of those elements are going to be benefited from the elixir, including age spots. Now, if you're in a younger demographic, maybe visual health is where you need some assistance. Eye fatigue, dry eyes, all of those are going to be benefited by the elixir. It's a core product because it benefits so many.
wants France to assist in drafting Palestinian constitution. President Macron announces as PA leader Abbas visits Paris. I guess you just grab a bunch of globalists and jihadis, and together they're going to write the new Palestinian constitution. We set up the digital Gaza. We turned it into a 15-minute city. Does your president need to get on the phone, or your prime minister? Does he need to get on the phone with some of us here in America so we can explain to him how you guys are being set up once again? Or is he in on it? Because I do know he's on video bragging about he turned you guys over as lab rats to Pfizer for COVID. So I'm starting to, is he in on it? Is he in on this? Because if he's not, why doesn't he just come out and say, President Trump says things that I don't agree with, and we're not going to do this necessarily the way he says, or he's not coming in here, we're not doing certain things, or certain things we're not going to do, and here are those certain things, okay, guys? Because we're going to do Israel first. We're not going to be dictated to by America. I mean, I would imagine that, I don't know what your polls are showing, but I would think your people at this point are thoroughly confused, like our people are. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? A lot of our people are confused. They don't know what Donald Trump's doing because he doesn't hardly ever brief us as to what he's doing. And when he does say something, it gets walked back. We're sending out $2,000 checks to every American through tariffs. Then that kind of got walked back. And now it's once again today that, well, we might be sending those out to people to make under $200,000. Why does anyone get a $2,000 check, number one? Because that's just going to mean printing more money and creating inflation, which is a hidden tax. Number two, why would only certain people get it? Because anybody that makes above $100,000, they're paying massive amounts of tax. Now they're going to be penalized with more inflation. I mean, and then let's do 50-year mortgages. Let's do 15-year car loans. Let's build a $500 million base and send U.S. troops to Gaza. Let's build Qatar a base in Idaho. Let's bring the president of Syria, who had a $10 million bounty on his head, to the Oval Office. Let's unfreeze $120 billion of Syrians, which is now Al-Qaeda. Let's sign a contract to have them work and help us defeat ISIS. Wait a minute. You're going to hire the ISIS guy to help you defeat ISIS? I mean, I'm rattling off news stories from the top of my head. And the American people, many of them are like those that are paying attention, and most aren't. They're paying attention to the grocery bill, they're paying attention to the kitchen table bills, but they're not policy people and policy wonks and news junkies like we are. That's a very, very, very small percentage of the American population, but they are paying attention to the economic issues because it's impacting them. But the people that pay attention to this stuff, like we do in our country, the ones that are, and the people in your country that pay attention to those things, they're confused. They're confused by Trump, and I would think they're confused by your own prime minister as well.
And you know what? I think you're right on. Listen, we have just kind of crossed a big hurdle called a 2-year war. With the return of our captives, there's a kind of a feeling that, we're going to turn a corner for good here. But we're waiting. In the meantime, we're seeing our nation being drawn into this so-called peace deal. I tell you, while there is some hope in the air, I think deep down people have got a bad feeling, Brennan. A bad feeling.
Yeah, I would say so. And I'll tell you something. Here, Trump can't get it fixed. And that's what people are saying on social media today. It's over. Trump was the last chance to fix the country. He's not going to get it done. Okay, it's the swamp is too deep. The swamp is too big. The corporate money, the globalists, they're too powerful. Whatever they got on him, whatever they've threatened him with, whatever they've promised him, you can sit here and guess all day long. It doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, the results are the same. We're not getting our republic restored. No one's gone to jail. No one's been arrested. No one's been perp walked. for all the crimes that went on during the Biden years, right? Now we're hearing rumors, and I'm not covering it because I'm not going to cover it and get sued, but we're hearing rumors that they may know who planted the pipe bomb outside the DNC. And there are a lot of people who have walked into that. They've named an individual. They've pictured the individual. And I'm not going there, because unless you know, and you know for sure, you're walking into a lawsuit and a trap, which could be a great way, by the way, to be sure to destroy a lot of conservative broadcast platforms, right? Just like J6 was a trap. What if the story about J6 is a trap in order to bring in and lure in a bunch of people in the conservative social media and broadcast world to say something and picture someone and name someone, and it's not them? They have nothing to do with it. You're going to get sued, okay? And then your organization is likely done unless you have a ton of insurance that covers that kind of thing. So we're not talking about that story, but that's out there in the narrative. All the stories in your country, here's another one that fits with this, and I'm going somewhere with this. Here's one that's in your country. Israeli Defense Forces internal investigation finds major failures in military's preparedness prior to October 7th. Well, we could have told you that, because I'm going to reference the 2 times I got up on my soapbox before October 7th and started screaming because I felt like your president was not paying attention to his own country and too concerned about what Biden thought. And you and I both had that conversation on the air. Then October 7th happened. I'll tell you something else. On this broadcast, I expressed to you very boldly and frustratedly my concern that your country's not paying attention to Judea and Samaria, and you got a bunch of jihadis in there, and that seems like a great location for another October 7th attack.
Yeah.
On the border.
Yeah, no,
and yet, what is in the news today? In the news today, they're now running exercises for a possible October 7th attack in Judea and Samaria. Well, hello, I've never even been to Israel. And I could tell from over here watching, I don't think you guys are paying attention like you should. And I said it twice for October 7th, so it's on tape. I said it with you. I don't think you guys are paying attention to the West Bank like you should. I have never even been to Israel. And if I can sit here as a pundit and read the news and make analysis like that on the air, documenting I've said these things before something happens, pray tell you don't have people on the ground in your country that are seeing this same thing. If some guy in a suit at a desk can pontificate about it sitting outside of Memphis, Tennessee, how hard is it?
Yeah, these are, look, Bibi Netanyahu is being pulled in so many different directions. He's got the lawsuits being pushed at him. He's got people that are wanting him tried because that issue has been buried, Brandon. That issue of who's going to be accountable for October the 7th. We want to move forward. We want to go ahead. But does that mean that issue is not going to be dealt with? Then you've got the issue of, going ahead. Bibi Netanyahu is part of this peace plan. Brandon, I was up at the Golan Heights today listening to our jets firing in Lebanon. I heard that there is, and I've heard on more than one occasion in the last couple of weeks, that Hezbollah are rearmed. They've got over 100,000 missiles and rockets that are ready, and it could be a matter of days or weeks before a new front breaks out.
And so where would that be again? Remind our audience where that front would be.
That would be up on our northern border, Lebanon. This is where Hezbollah, where we remember the Pages issue, we pretty much decapitated them, but they have been restocked, and they're making a comeback. And over the last 2-3 weeks, there's been a lot of action up. We're taking out terrorists, we're taking out infrastructure there, but they have been rearmed by the Iranians. So we're on edge, but the nation, there's confusion, Brandon. There's definitely confusion. There's uncertainty in the air. There's an eerie feeling going on, kind of similar before October the 7th. And at the same time, you've got, this massive development being planned on the border with Gaza and inside Gaza. And then on top of it, what you read about Macron meeting with Mahmoud Abbas trying to implement the judicial and the structure of a future Palestinian state. There's just so much going on.
Yeah.
And it's like, where is God in this? Where is God? And we need to pray for Benjamin Netanyahu. We need to pray for his right-wing religious leaders to step up and to come and speak into the situation, because we really need, we're like we've, like most of the time we're in a dangerous situation here.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I want to show a map, and I'll explain for the radio audience. This map, we see Israel, we see Jerusalem, you see Tel Aviv, you see the Mediterranean. Then on the other side, you see, down at the bottom, south, you see Gaza Strip. Then on the other side, you see the West Bank, Judea and Samaria. And then you see Jordan. So tell me about a terrorist attack coming from Jordan. If you have a lot of terrorists in the West Bank, and I hear they have their tunnels and everything there, tell me about what are the security concerns on the other side of the West Bank there in Jordan. Tell me about that. What is the Jordanian government doing? Are they, how much of your enemies are in Jordan? I guess is the question I'm asking.
My estimation, Brandon, is the Jordanian government aren't necessarily turning a blind eye or allowing terrorists to come in. Our eastern border, which is with the Jordanians, it's pretty secure. It's pretty tight. But just like it was discovered in the Gaza Strip, hundreds of miles of underground tunnels, we know that in the same vein, under the ground in Judea and Samaria, there are many tunnels that have been built. The same goes on our northern border under Lebanon, many tunnels there. And this subterranean warfare has been extremely challenging to our military. Now, we've learned a lot over the last 2 years. In fact, we've already destroyed over the last month about 150 tunnels under the ground in Gaza. But this is going back to Judea and Samaria. This is a major concern underneath the ground there. There are pockets in places like Jenin, places like Tulkarm, places like El-Fahim, and places even like Ramallah, where there are pockets, strongholds of Islamic fundamentalist jihadists. Now, we've got our eye on them, but again, it's the underground threat these days. Plus, the other real threat is that among the Palestinian people who live in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, you've got Israeli Arabs, Arab people that have Israeli citizenship, and they're free to come and go as they want. And all it takes is for one or a group of them to wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm fed up with it. I'm going to betray the nation that have given me citizenship, and they may side with a terrorist group. So our military intelligence, our checkpoints, they are, they're par excellent, but our terrorists, they're also very, when I say our terrorists, the terrorists that live among our borders, they are also very, very skilled and trained.
Let's open the phone lines real quick. 1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your question with Aaron. 1-800-347-9889. Anything we've talked about, you can talk about it. Call in.
Introducing the Sentry Wellness System, the ultimate under-sink water treatment solution designed with you in mind. Say goodbye to harmful toxins and hello to water enriched with essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium. Enjoy the benefits of increased pH for on-demand alkalinity, all from a zero-waste system that fits seamlessly into your home. Installation is a breeze, taking just 15 minutes, so you can have clean, healthy, great-tasting water straight from your tap. Perfect for apartments, homes, rentals, and even RVs. Elevate your hydration and well-being with the Sentry Wellness System because you deserve the best in every drop.
Sentry H2O. Tap into wellness.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
1-800-347-9829, 1-800-347-9829. Are you guys still waiting on that Doge check? Were you supposed to get a check from Doge, all the government money they were going to save and send it on to the taxpayers, Doge? That didn't happen. Now you're waiting on a tariff check. How many of you think you're being... Have you ever seen that joke people do where they put a $5 bill on the ground and someone at a tourist walkway where there's a lot of tourists walking by, and someone bends over to pick up the $5 bill, and all of a sudden someone on the other end jerks the fishing line and pulls it away from them. They're sitting up on a porch, maybe it's a little porch area going into a shop, and they're just horsing around waiting on their parents to finish shopping. They throw that $5 bill on the ground, waiting for some tourist to come by, bends over to pick it up, and they jerk the string, the fishing line that's so hard to see. And everybody laughs. Oh, it's a good laugh. Oh, funny kids. This is what your government's doing to you. They are jerking the checks. First the Doge check, then the tariff check. Maybe they'll get one. I don't know. I don't think we should be printing more money. But I'll tell you something. We're being led along. And we're now realizing the deep state is just too deep. And it makes me wonder, before we go to the phone lines, if, as Israel is so frustrated with Benjamin Netanyahu, Americans are very frustrated with Trump. Israelis are frustrated with the Knesset. Americans are frustrated with the U.S. Congress. We've tried the right, we've tried the left, we've tried the center, we've tried it all over the last few decades, haven't we not? And now maybe what is really happening here is the stage is being set for the Antichrist. Because it sure seems like this would be the time to step on board, because I think everybody's pretty well sick of all the politicians. That the whole thing is a game. And we're on the losing end of the rigged game. Think about that. I've thought for years sports was a joke. Now, many people have predicted that some of these games are being thrown. And haven't we seen in baseball and other things now, people in trouble? I mean, but what isn't fake? There's very few things anymore. And isn't that why the Bible warns over and over, do not be deceived? Even the elect will be deceived if it were, what? Possible. Don't be deceived about false Christ, false Messiah, false hope. Let's go to the phone lines. Dick in Maryland, line 1. Hey, Dick, always glad you call in.
Well, this is an incredible program today. And, you talk about worldviews and how important it is to get up 30,000 feet and try to put all these pieces together. You just laid out on the table all the pieces. The last thing you mentioned is perhaps setting the stage for the Antichrist. Let's just take any one of these things, namely the AI system, the incredible commitment that Donald Trump has to the whole notion of digital cities, the digital city in Gaza, et cetera. Well, it turns out that, again, you and Leo have pointed out that the beast system that runs every day in China was partially developed by America and China in a collaboration. Well, holy cow. So we have people in America at corporate levels who supported Donald Trump, put him in office, who also participated in the development of a system that enslaves Chinese people. Oh, my. So this could be very, very much related to the beast system. It could be dropped on Gaza to enable, quote, 15-minute city to happen, allowing whatever else is going to happen. It is an incredible time. I think the other point from the Bible's perspective, the Bible talks about people whose hearts are hardened. Maybe that's what's really going on here. Maybe the elite at the top of the tree that direct Donald Trump, et cetera, that promote artificial intelligence and beast systems and can start and stop wars. Maybe these people are all hardened heart people. The next conversation with some of them might actually be possessed. God bless the biblical view. Thank you for putting it out there.
Wow, thank you, Dick. And one thing I'll add to it, you have so many young men today wanting to get married. Some of them don't. They have no desire to get married. They have all the pornography they need, and they got video games, and they just don't want to get married. But you have a percentage, and I don't know what it is, of young men that want to find a nice wife, some of my younger friends will say to me, well, you got one of those 1980s wives. You got married in one of the best generations because you got one of those 1980s wives. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? She likes to be a wife. She likes being a mother. She cooks. She makes the home like you love it. I mean, we've been to your home enough to know how you live. We don't have a wife like that, okay? Our wife doesn't want to cook meals very much at all, doesn't want to keep the house and make it a place to come home to, is always running out with her friends. And a lot of them are single friends who aren't a good influence on her. And it's a different generation. Well, it's even worse now with many of these young women. And a lot of the young guys are like, I want a nice gal. I don't want a gal that has been sleeping around with a lot of people, right? I like to have a wife that's, a virgin. I like to marry someone that's pure. Good luck. And so when you think about the young men today, they have so much against them. And I'm not trying to make them out to be victims. What I'm saying is these are all consequences of worldview, right? Ideas and values and what has been programmed into the culture. I just keep waiting for how are these young, frustrated men, angry, bitter now, some of them, how are they going to be weaponized against the system of the free market, which is collapsing, really hasn't been a free market for a while. But how are they going to be used? Is this why they're running to guys like Nick Fuentes? Will they run to Islam? Will they run to socialism? Will they say, I couldn't get along in the system of the free market? Then you know what? I'm all for universal basic income and free housing, whatever you can give me. Are they opening the door by creating the condition to have people say, you can't beat them, join them, Dick? Is that what they're doing? Did we lose him? Line 1, Dick? I guess we did. Oh, let's go to Lori. I wanted to hear his thoughts on that. Lori, line 4. Hi, Lori.
Hi. I'm just troubled by all the news I hear these days, and I would imagine everybody else, and especially these young guys out there and young people who've tried to go to college and never succeeded. I just wanted to say, though, that in the midst of all this, I've seen like satanic attacks going up. I've seen the church falling away, as you've proclaimed, and I shared one of your documentaries, and somebody said, wow. And that was from way back, and they said everything you said is coming true. And the whole point I'm trying to make is this. Blessed is the man who puts his trust in the Lord, and cursed is the man who puts his trust in man. And I think too many people have turned to politicians and stuff, and our hope was too much based on them. I really think it's turning back to the Lord. It's sharing Christ and sharing this radio station and your ministry and continuing to share at VCY.
Amen. What a great way to close the program. Thank you so much, guys. Stay tuned for Crosstalk. Take care. And we're back with WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida, and here on Worldview Tube. Let's bring in back in Aaron. Aaron, what do you make of those calls?
Oh, well, I mean, that verse of scripture really sums it up. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, and cursed is the man who trusts in man. I mean, what more do you need to say about that? And the dangers of letting our hearts get drawn away from the Lord, too focused on what's happening. And I find that being in the media, that is a challenge, because we're called to be watchmen. We're called to be involved. We're called to warn. We're called to know the times and the seasons. So we got to know, and we got to understand who our leaders are and all of that. But the danger of it, keeping our balance and keeping our focus away from the Lord. Great calls, great encouraging people who have their eyes open to what's going on.
Do you see things in your country that lead you to believe that your country, like our country and much of the world, is being prepared for the Antichrist?
Absolutely. No question about it. Look, I don't think we've really seen AI really take over. I mean, it's gathering momentum, but I think there's some dark storm clouds on the horizon in that area alone, not to mention what Donald Trump is creating with this peace plan, this peace corridor. Here's the thing, Brandon. On one hand, we're to stand against it, we're to pray against it. On the other hand, it's got to happen. As I was just saying today to someone, The Lord said that it will, in the last days, it will be like Sodom and Gomorrah. Does that mean we shouldn't pray against
Right.
these things? No, we do need to make a stand. We need to come against it, but it's got to happen. And it's the same with the Antichrist, New World Government, a deception. We've got to stand against it. We've got to warn people, but it's going to happen. And it's happening. And I think we're seeing it in our country. We're going more and more into a cashless society. And all of that, the chip and all of that, we're heading just like any other nation. We're heading that way.
Here's a clip of Donald Trump having a little conversation with Jelani, asking him how many wives he has. Trump's been around enough. Trump's been around enough the Arabs to know they got a lot of wives. We got audio playing in the background. Well, let's get rid of that. I know where to get rid of that. There we go. I bet I got rid of it, didn't I? So let me go back to the clip of Trump asking him how many wives he's got. Here we go.
And then the other one is your wife. How many wives? Your wife. You guys said never know, right?
Just one. But someone made a comment. How many sex slaves does he have? Someone made a serious comment and said, but how many sex slaves does he have? Okay. You know this. I mean, don't you think some of these guys over there, particularly these jihadi types, have had sex slaves? I mean, that'd be a question. Have you had sex slaves, and who are they? Where are they now? That's a legitimate question.
Didn't Muhammad have sex slaves?
Yeah.
And so,
well, he took his wife at 6 and he consummated at 9, Aisha.
And my understanding is that the true goal of a Muslim is to imitate Muhammad.
So someone just commented and said, no question about the women he kidnapped and forced to be his sex slaves. What happened to their poor souls? But sure, a terrorist love life is so funny. So some of the folks that are experts on Islam and studying it, they're not happy. The cavalier laughing and attitude that it's just, I don't know. The whole thing is opened up a lot of eyes today. But I guess what it has done is shown people that when we've been trying to tell people what were some of the signs we were seeing, they now understand, because people were saying, well, you guys just have become a negative anti-Trump network. No, we're not. We're praising him when he does good. But when we have serious questions, we're telling you what's going on. That's our job. Okay. Our job is not to be political mouthpieces for the White House. Our job is to be folks that use discernment and speak truth. And now I'm just watching folks come alive on social media. They're now like, I guess for them, a lot of them, they're now seeing it. They finally accepted it, or it's the straw that broke the camel's back, whatever. But I don't know. We got another 3 years to go. And I'm not sure what it's all going to look like. But I do think now that everybody's had the chance to try Joe Biden's communism, Obama's globalism, Donald Trump's America Firstism, which is kind of ironically an oxymoron. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Antichrist. I mean, because it's like, what else is there? What else is there for a world, as you say, as the caller said, wants to put their trust in man? Oh, there's a man coming. And boy, when he does counterfeit miracle signs and wonders, that's going to sure lure in a lot of people, because I haven't seen Donald Trump do any miracles, quote miracles, but the Antichrist will do counterfeit miracle signs and wonders. And the spiritual deception is going to be off the chart. Wow. Aaron Lavarco, lighttoTheNationsMinistry.com. Aaron, as always, thank you. Tonight we have some brand new tours by Aaron. I'm playing on Bright House Live, him giving us tours of historic locations in Israel, playing those tonight. Brought to you by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com.